Now, I might just ruffle some feathers with this video, but these are 3 things that I wish people would stop doing in Italy in 2026, because I always like to keep things real. Number 1, I wish people would stop complaining here in Italy. Now, I feel like I should caveat this by saying that complaining isn't inherently bad, but it's the way that you approach it that turns complaining from being something that could be positive into something that is inevitably negative and toxic. Now, where complaining can actually lead to positive things is if you decide to do something about it. So if you're expressing your frustrations about something, you're complaining, you're not happy, but you intend to change that situation, you intend to educate yourself better about something or do things differently or reframe a situation, that is when complaining can lead you somewhere positive. But it is the other type of complaining where people just complain for the sake of complaining. They vent. They just want to kind of verbal diarrhea all their problems onto you. That is where complaining becomes toxic. And unfortunately, that is the type of complaining that I see all too often living here in Italy. Now, where this type of complaining often rears its head is in those lovely online expat communities and forums that you can find. I honestly think that for the majority of them, it is like a permission slip to be negative. And I myself was at the receiving end of such an experience in kind of late 2017, early 2018. When I discovered these groups online and I was venturing into them and asking questions about what life was like in Italy and what the work situation was like. And honestly, people blatantly told me not to come. That they told me I would never find a job. They told me it would be really difficult. And this was back when the UK was still part of Europe. So it's interesting how you can be faced with such negativity and complaints within these communities that are supposed to, in a way, support each other and help each other. But it's the reality of it. And the reason why I think people complain about life here in Italy generally falls into a few different categories. Firstly, it's because people just aren't educated enough on the realities of life here. Let's face it, you've only got to type Italy into Google to be faced with the dreamy, beautiful, romantic side of this country that so many people believe to be reality. But if you've lived here for long enough, you know that that is a fantasy, and that's probably only what the tourists end up seeing. Italy is a beautiful country, but it is also extremely problematic, and it's much the same as any other country around the world in the sense that it isn't perfect. So people that come here and start complaining pretty much from the offset are generally those people who haven't done enough research and they've believed the fantasy of life here rather than the reality. I also think as well, people complain about life here because they aren't willing to adapt or change. Those people who say to you that you don't need to change when you move to Italy are not really telling you the full story. I don't believe that you need to completely change who you are and become somebody you don't recognize. Don't do that. However, I do think that if you want to integrate into life here and you want to really embrace the experience and make the most of it, you are going to want to adapt and change the way that you do things, your habits, your routines, the food that you eat, the approach that you have to life. That naturally comes when you integrate yourself into another country and into another culture. And it's one of the most beautiful experiences you could ever have. I can honestly tell you, sitting here now, that I am not the same person who stepped foot off the plane in 2018. In fact, I'm not even the same person who started this YouTube channel 5 years ago this month. Can you believe it? I am not that same person at all. At the beginning, when I started this YouTube channel, I had an idea of what I wanted it to be, but a lot of the videos were complaining videos. I have to be honest with you, comparison videos between Italy and the UK, things I don't like about Italy, blah, blah, blah. But the longer I have spent living here, the more I've come to understand that there's no sense in producing that kind of content, and that every single country around the world is going to have its problems. It is all in how you frame it. And I have learned to turn my complaints into reframes. So it's interesting how you evolve and you change, but you have to be open to doing that. And so many people are not. And that is why they fall down into the rabbit hole of negativity and complaints. I think also another reason why people do it is because they think they're helping other people by sharing all of the negative stories and by complaining about the parts of Italy that they don't like. But it's misguided, because something that I've always said on this channel is that no two people's experiences will ever be the same. Those same people that told me, 7 and a bit years ago that I would never find a job here in Italy were completely wrong. I've been working here since the moment I stepped off the plane, and I feel very blessed and fortunate to be able to say that, but they were completely wrong. And that's the thing, no two people's experiences will ever be the same. We are all so different. Even if you come from the same country, we are all so different within ourselves. And so many people fall into the trap of listening to that kind of rhetoric and believing the narrative that, life here is going to be so tough, you're never going to find work, don't come. But that's that person's experience. It doesn't have to be yours. There might be some truth in the fact that life here is difficult, and I've been the first to say it on this channel, but it doesn't mean you can't make a success of yourself. It all boils down to how you frame things and what you're going to do in your life. And I really believe in that wholeheartedly. So I feel complaining is something that if you're going to do it to kind of create a better outcome, fair enough. It's a natural human emotion to express how you feel about something. But if you are just venting for the sake of it, really you need to look at that, because I think you could approach a situation differently. You could educate yourself better about something. You could reframe the situation and take the lessons from it. A personal example, I'm currently in the process of renewing my Carta di Soggiorno, which is my residence card here in Italy. Now, this is a card that was given to those of us from the UK who are living here pre-Brexit. It's not a mandatory card by any means, because we have this withdrawal agreement in place, but it is a card that I made sure I got as soon as I knew about it, because now it's becoming more important to have it for bureaucracy matters, even though it's not mandatory. Now, my card expires this year, but I've already started the process because I've been reading about how there are long appointment times and, it's better to get the ball rolling. And already I'm starting to face the hurdle of waiting for responses to PEC emails. Now, the old me from like 2018, 2019 would have been getting really frustrated at this point. But now I can look at it and be like, it's just the way things are here. I have to let go. I have to understand that if I don't hear a response within 30 days, because that is the legal requirement for response time for PEC emails, then I need to follow up, or I need to go in person to the office myself. It's one of those things, but you only arrive at that point when you've learned to adapt and to change and to accept things here in Italy for exactly what they are. So it's one of the most important things that I can only stress to you in this video. Don't complain just for the sake of complaining. Try to frame things in a different way. And if you found yourself in these online communities and forums feeling a little bit frustrated and overwhelmed by the negativity that you've received, I think you will enjoy my first online community called the Aperitivo Lounge, which opened its doors on the 10th of January. And this is a community which is designed to support, nurture and uplift the people that are part of it in terms of moving to Italy and setting up and living a successful life here in this country. And it's a community that I wish had existed when I first moved to Italy, because I found that first year to year and a half really tough as a result. So shameless plug, but I'll link it up here and also below in the show notes if you want to join and actually be part of a supportive community of people who want to make a real success of their life here in Italy. The second thing that I wish people would stop doing here in Italy in 2026 is being so tone deaf. Now, I spoke about this in my most recent podcast episode. I'll link it up here. So go and listen to that if you want me to explain a bit more where this came from. But essentially, so many people give opinions about Italy, talk about life in Italy without really understanding the social and cultural landscape in this country. And it's something that I think people don't pay enough attention to, like really and truly, because if you had really done your research about life in Italy, you would understand the economics of this country. You would understand the struggles and troubles that people face in this country. And I feel that you would approach things from a more tactful position. But unfortunately, there are so many kind of social media platforms, accounts, websites that talk about life here from a really idealistic point of view. And they talk about life here based on their own personal experiences and not actually linked to what the reality is for so many people who live in this country. Now, the example that I spoke about in my podcast, in summary for this video, was somebody talking about a home that they were renting in Tuscany, which they were having to move out of to go elsewhere. But they referred to this home as being like so cheap, 1,000 euros a month to rent. And it was really tiny. And Italian people were commenting on this post, sort of saying, well, for an average Italian person, that amount of money for that size home is not cheap. And this is it. Like, sometimes we are so detached from the reality of life, either because we don't work in this country and so we don't earn the amount of money that an average Italian person earns. And so it's hard to really understand how relative the cost of things are in this country when you're basing your comparisons on what you're earning in your own country, which is most probably a lot higher. But also, you don't necessarily understand what struggles people are really facing here if you don't work in this country, if you don't have a much deeper connection to it. So I really think with this, people just need to be a bit more tactful and mindful about what they talk about when it comes to life here in Italy. Yes, no two people's experiences will ever be the same. So of course you can talk about your comparisons and share your experiences, absolutely, because not everything is going to be relevant to everyone. But I just think that there are some more respectful ways that you can talk about life here without necessarily alienating people or making people feel a little bit rubbish because they don't have what you have. And that is the most important thing. And it's just something that I see a lot here, whether it be to do with money, whether it be to do with housing, work situations, whatever it may be. People just do not understand the cultural landscape here. And I really suggest that you dive deep into it if you plan to move here, because if you don't understand how Italy operates kind of beneath the surface, I really don't think you will ever fully integrate into this country. There will always be a degree of separation, and there'll always be a part of you that can't really relate to life here as a result. And the third thing that I wish people would really, really stop doing here in Italy in 2026 is romanticising this country. This is my biggest bugbear. I recorded a video about this up here a couple of years ago, and it's something that has never really gone away ever since. I read articles about living in Italy, and they are written as if you are looking at the script of a film or reading a novel. And I read them and I'm like, that's just not reality. But so many people, surprisingly so, even now in 2026, believe that narrative to be true, and it just isn't. Now, I must admit that it took me a while to really accept the fact that I was only ever going to share the reality of life here in Italy, because when I first started to really lean into this and really share with you the reality of life here, I was met with some resistance on this YouTube channel. People were telling me I was overly negative and, things can't be that bad. But last year, I really owned the fact that, yes, I'm only ever going to tell you what life is like in Italy with no fantasy. Because if I want to help you, which is the reason I do all of this stuff, I've got to be real with you about life here. I'm not helping you in just selling you the dream. I need to help you by selling you the reality, and that includes both good and bad aspects. And so now I own it wholeheartedly. I understand my channel is not going to be for everyone. For those dreamers and fantasists, they're not going to subscribe to my channel, and that's totally okay. But if you plan to move to Italy and you want to make a success of your life, this is the channel you're going to want to subscribe to, because I'm going to share it to you straight. The good, the bad, the ugly, so that when you move to this country, you have your eyes open and you can really enjoy everything that this country can bring you. Those people that don't enjoy life, complain about life like we've just spoken about, are the ones that have believed the fantasy and the romanticism of this country. And it just simply isn't true. There are so many beautiful aspects to Italy, so much of Italy that I even want to explore, because I've only predominantly been in the south of Italy up to now. But I also know that there are many other sides to Italy, sides of struggle, poverty, crime, parts that, if you come here for a 2-week holiday, you might not see, or if you live here on a short-term basis, you might not experience. But they exist here if you spend enough time in this country. And so it's something that you need to be aware of, and you need to stop painting Italy in this beautiful romantic hue and accept it for what it is as a country. There is no perfect country around the world, absolutely. I don't sit here and tell you that the UK is perfect, because honestly, I'm kind of thinking it's far from it, especially in this period. But I do sit here and I say to you that you gain from a country what it is that you are willing to take from it. If you come here and you're open to the experiences, all of the experiences that you will have, and you're open to learning and you're open to changing and adapting, I promise you, Italy's going to teach you things that you have never, ever been taught in your life, I'm sure. But if you come here and you're kind of closed off to those aspects and you expect a level of perfection that you don't end up receiving, that's when you might be questioning your decision altogether. So just accept Italy for what it is. It's not perfect. Stop believing the marketing nonsense and the fantasy that we're sold to by, the media and travel agencies. It's not reality, okay? Accept it for what it is. Learn to embrace the less than pretty aspects of this country. And I promise you that you'll really, really make a success of your life in this country. If you are interested in signing up to my community, once again, I'll put a link below in the show notes, but it is a place that can help to support you in your dream of moving to Italy. And if you've enjoyed this video, this is the one I think you should watch next. I'll see you in the next video.